Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. Hi, Carolyn. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us and always being the rock. Hey, folks, this is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is the second class in our series, the Success Mentorship classes. And as you know, this is class number 102, and our topic for today is refocusing your life. And much of the information we cover in our presentations, in our lives, and in our broadcasts are taken from our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success, which of course is available at www.12uls.com. And this is a part of our new evolution of success messages. The Success Mentorship Network is really people like yourself who want to do better, be better, have more, and who want the tools, audios, videos, and training sessions to do it. And I recommend that you go to our membership site, Patreon, patreon.com/Success Mentorship Network. Our topic for today is refocusing your life. And the interesting thing about this, the important thing about this is so timely. When we consider all that is going on right now with the virus and the social distancing and the many things that are happening in our world, it has really created a sense of constant flux, constant change, and really constant uncertainty. Welcome, Jill, and Diane, thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So all that is going on is really creating this sense of change, this sense of uncertainty, this sense of the fear of the unknown. And so how do we look at this? How do we not get caught up in this so that we get taken off course? And I guess the final question is, how do we refocus our lives in a way that we can survive and thrive through this very interesting experience that we're having, not only in our state, in our country, but in fact in the entire world? This virus experience, let's just call it, this virus experience is something that has really changed everything that we do in the country, in the world. It's changed our education, it's changed our jobs, it's changed our social practices. And one of the things that really keeps coming up is that our world may never be the same. The point is that we're not sure about it. And so how do we handle that? And the key to all of this is focus. And focus is really paying total attention and intention to a particular thing that you desire. In other words, whatever you focus on grows. So focus is such a powerful tool because nothing happens without focus. Either you actively focus and get the things that you're seeking, or you passively focus and get what the world has in store for you. So let's look at focus. There are really two aspects of focus. The first aspect of focus is time. In other words, when we look at focus, focus is something that happens over time. The second aspect of focus is energy. And so when we look at time and energy, focus is really applying energy over a period of time. So focus is not an instantaneous thing that you say, well, I did it today and I don't have to do it again. Focus is something that you have to do over time. And so when you focus on something, and there must be an objective of your focus. In other words, if you don't have an objective of your focus, if you're not focusing on something particular, then it can change so that all that we do takes place. So the spiritual universe, the world that we live in, consists of vibrations. It's all about vibrations. Each of us has a particular vibration. Every experience that we have is a particular vibration. And this particular vibration creates a force which attracts into our space. We call it the law of attraction, the things that are congruent with that vibration. So when we look at a time as we're in right now, we call it a time of challenge. This is a time that can be viewed as a time of great opportunity. Aristotle Onassis, and one of the early, I'd say, billionaires, and we probably know him most for having married Jacqueline Kennedy. Aristotle Onassis was a man who came from very humble beginnings, and he became one of the richest men in the world. And one of the things he said was this: it is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. And so when we look at where we are right now, focus is a powerful tool that can take us from any situation that we're in to any situation that we desire to experience. How do you lose focus? You know, if focus is so powerful and such a good thing for you, how do you lose focus? Kind of three ways. One way you lose focus through getting in a rut. Sometimes we can live our lives in such a fashion, we do the same things over and over, we get to the point where we really don't know why we're doing it, and we forget where we want to go. We get so involved. Some people, we call it the comfort zone. Some people can be so comfortable in their comfort zone that they no longer focus on their goals. Sometimes we lose focus because of past failures and disappointments. We can go through challenges in life, and if we focus on our past failures and our disappointments, we will never be able to focus on the solution to the matter at hand. The third way we lose focus is really what's happening right now, is in times of challenge, in times of health situations, in times of upheaval. And so right now we're in a period of crisis, health crisis, distraction because of all the stuff going on in the world. So when we have that situation, that gives us an opportunity, as Aristotle Onassis says, in times of great challenges, great opportunity. And so when we look at where we are right now, then we say, okay, then how do we use this? How do we transform ourselves so that we can take the environment in which we are living and we can change that environment to something we desire? I like to think of this as the 8 steps to refocusing your life. And step number 1 is to do a reality check. The truth of our situation is that we're alive. We're living a good life. The truth of our situation is that the present experience that we're having of the virus, of the World Health Challenge, is really not something of our doing. It's a result of external circumstances. The reality is that you are the same very talented, intelligent person that you were before this challenge came about. Creative person who was getting things done. And so when we make this reality check, we have to also remember our personal talents. In other words, we can do a personal assessment of our thoughts, of our emotions, of our habits, of our associations. When we do a reality check, the one thing we know is that it will not last forever. The essence of life, the essence of the evolution of existence is there's always a beginning and an end. There's never a darkness that's so dark that the light does not appear. No matter how dark the night, the sun rises. No matter how beautiful the sun, the dark appears. And so our reality is that this thing will pass. So the reality check, key point. Step 2, take responsibility for what is. I said, Dr. Harris, what do you mean? I didn't create this. We may not control the external circumstances that we find ourselves right now, but we do control our response to it. We do control our reaction to it. We do control our attitude to it. And therein lies our power. You see, we have the power to make choices. We can choose whether we want to be impacted by all of the, and I'll call it the negativity, all of the crisis mentality that's going on right now, or we can choose to see something different. See, that is the beauty of life. You know, when in the allegorical story of the Garden of Eden, one of the things that the Creator said was that when you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that's really saying you now have the capacity for choice, which is very unique. I think that's the uniquely human characteristic that we experience. So we have the capacity for choice. So now we simply have to take responsibility for the choices we make in response to the situation that we find ourselves. We must be proactive. See, one of the interesting things about life is that there's always this pushback. There's always, we often say life is like a garden, and that you plant flowers, you cultivate the soil, you never have to plant weeds. But a part of the yin-yang aspect of the universe, the up, down, the negative, positive, is that there is always pushback. And so when you're in an environment, in a situation of crisis, there's that force that's pushing in on you, and you have to take responsibility to push back. And so we have to be proactive. We have to make proper choices so that the crisis does not define us. We define ourselves based on what we desire. And then, as a part of that responsibility, is we have to be thoughtful. And when I say that, I mean that we have to really trust our ability to discern the truth. When we can discern the truth, we can discern what is, then we can respond accordingly. If we don't perfect that ability to discern, to be thoughtful, to trust our common sense, to trust our instincts, to trust that voice we hear inside when things occur, then it can be hard to develop to develop a way out. So when we take responsibility, we take absolute responsibility for our attitude and our reaction to what's going on, to the crisis at hand. Step 3, we must be perfectly clear about what we do and why we do it. You see, when we're operating in a comfort zone, in an ordinary, run-of-the-mill day, where we do what we normally do when we normally do it, we do a lot of things that we just go through the motions. Many times we have activities and things that we do that the conditions that created that particular course of action no longer exist. And so we have to look at what we do and why we do it. I'm always reminded of the story of the young girl at Christmas time. And she was watching her mother cook this beautiful ham, and the mother cut off both ends of the ham before she put it in the pot. The little girl says, "Mom, why do you do that?" And she said, "Because my mother did it." Well, later that day, the grandmother came over, and the little girl asked her grandmother, "Grandma, I see that Mom cuts the ends of the ham off before she puts it in the pot." She said, "She does it because you did it. Why do you do that?" And the grandmother said, "Because my mother did it." And then finally, later that day, they go to the nursing home to see the great-grandmother, and the little girl asked the great-grandmother the same question. So why do you cut the ends off the ham before you put it in the pot? And the great-grandmother said, "Because the pot was too small." And so the circumstances around cutting the ends off no longer existed, but people kept doing it. And so at this period now in our lives, look at some of the things that we do and why we do them. We have to learn to operate on our base of common sense, on science. You know, one of the things that we find in the universe, there's certain laws, there's certain spiritual laws, there's certain physical laws that operate, and when you deny them, you get in trouble. There's a saying that liars may figure, but figures don't lie. And so we begin to really think and rely on the things that we understand and we believe in based on our consciousness and based on the truth of who we are. You see, hope is not a strategy. So we can find ourselves in the present situation and hope for a change, but we have to be proactive to make things happen to facilitate that change. So hope is not a strategy, and wishing is not a plan. We have to be watchful over our ego. Many things that we do are often ego-centered. And so when you find yourself in a time of crisis, as we find ourselves in this moment, to question some of the things that you do from that ego perspective. Sometimes you do it just because you think you can, just because of who you think you are. And so when we are watchful over our ego, it creates a vibration of truth within us. You see, every thought we have creates a vibration. And so when our thoughts are focused on ego-based objectives, it creates another vibration, which may not work for us to bring the things we want into our lives. Sometimes our ego can be the very thing keeping us from achieving our dreams and goals. Be aware of the thoughts, the emotions, the habits, and the associations, the people who you involve with, who may not be consistent with getting out of the situation, who may not be consistent with what you see for yourself, with refocusing your life. You know, when you get together with other people and they focus on the current situation, you start to buy into it. When you let wrong people come into your life, and it's not that you don't love them, it's just that in the time of crisis where you have to be very particular about your attitude and your response to things, you have to be very discerning about the thoughts, the emotions, the habits, and the people you permit to come into your life. We often talk of the story of the Golden Gate Bridge, that a good Samaritan was walking along one day and the man was getting ready to jump off the bridge. The Good Samaritan came over and said, "Sir, why do you want to end your life?" And he said, "Oh, my life is terrible." And he gave a litany of negative things that was going on in his life. The Good Samaritan listened intently. And after listening intently, both of them jumped off the bridge. And so that can happen when you let other people, other vibrations come into your life. So be very clear about what you do and why you do it. The fourth key to refocusing your life is to learn to say yes and to say no. So when we look at this environment, we have to say no to the distractions. As we begin to develop our response to the situation that we're going through so that we can refocus our lives on what we have to do, we have to say no to some of the thoughts. Oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. We have to say no to some of the emotions of fear, of uncertainty. We have to say no to habits that don't help us go where we want to go. We have to say no to people who may not complement what we're doing. That ability to say yes and no is really the execution of your choices. You choose one over the other. Crisis makes you focus on what's important. The way you push back against the world mind is to focus on what's important to you. Step 5. Revisit your why. You know, we're at a point in the year now, everybody started out with positive affirmations, with goals, with objectives that we were going to make this year the greatest year in our lives. And going to have an incredible success this year. And then this crisis came about. And so this can be a great opportunity now to revisit your why, to think about one of the benefits of social isolation is that you can get a chance to meet you, to meet yourself again, to spend time with yourself again. And so when you have this opportunity now to be still and know. You see, life is all about vibration. We can be so involved with the world vibration that we get caught up in it and we just so move along as the river of time moves us. But when we have this opportunity to revisit our why, we be still and know there's certain vibrations that you cannot experience and hear and feel when you're surrounded by noise. One of the reasons that every spiritual discipline talks about meditation, because there has to be a time where you close out all the outside stuff so that you can create that inside stuff, that thing to you that makes sense, that makes it happen, that thing to you that touches that point of view. When you are still and know, then you recognize that you now have the power to deal with the external stuff by handling it through the internal filter. When we are still and know, we focus on the vibration of who we really are, the vibration for which we were created. See, each of us, E equals mc squared, energy, which is vibration, equals mass, which is manifestation, times the speed of light squared. And so any vibration, any energy that you have inside, there's a corresponding manifestation. So when you be still and know, the manifestation that corresponds is your essence, is the truth of who you are. Revisit your why in light of your new vibration. So when we use this current situation of social isolation as a way to reintroduce ourselves to ourselves and to listen to that inside voice inside us, we may now redefine our why, because it's something about crisis that makes you focus on what's important. What's really important, what's really going on. And so when you begin to change that vibration and revisit your why in terms of the new vibration, you recognize that crisis can make you better. I have a thought once that says crisis just magnifies who you already were. And so sometimes a crisis is necessary to show us the great power that we have. When you're operating in your comfort zone, you're not really challenged. But when you have a time of great crisis, this energy, this vibration, this pushback against something that you don't want can create a vibration in you that really magnifies who you really are, helping you refocus on your goals, your vision, and your purpose. When we refocus in that crisis environment where we listen to our inner self, the essence comes about that we were not created just by happenstance, that we were created for a purpose, for a reason. And that reason then begins to resonate inside us and then begins to attract into our space that which we desire. Step 6, to establish new priorities based on your new why, the why that you now have created as a response to the crisis situation in which you find yourself. To establish new priorities. You see, priority is all about choice. And so when we say we have new priorities, it means that we make different choices on how to allocate two things: our time and our energy. And so priority is like the guiding mechanism for focus. You focus on what's important. Priority says now you look at your new why in terms of what is the best use of my time right now. You look at the response you have to the crisis situation in terms of what is the best use of my time right now to create the new why that I have defined for myself. You know, this time of crisis where we sit and listen to ourselves is a time for us to reflect on the greatness of who we really are. One of the things that I've been really seeing in this whole vibration, external vibration, is to say, man, what gift do you have to give to the world? What important thing do you have to do? You know, when we have these crises, it's almost like, you know, when Paul and Silas were in jail and the earthquake flung the doors of the jail open. Crisis challenges can be looked at as an earthquake, a wake-up call for you to focus on your essence, to focus on the big you, the thing that you were really put here for. Step 7, take action. As they say, the rubber hits the road. Action is the execution of focus. You see, focus is time and energy, but action is the application of the time and energy. And so if you don't take action, then nothing happens. You can have the time, you can be excited. You know, people can be enthusiastic about things, incredibly enthusiastic, but they never do anything about it. So action is where that rubber hits the road, where your focus and your energy are actually applied. And then step 8, to keep going and growing. Keep going and growing. There was a time I used to say, don't quit. But you know, the nature of mine is the moment you put a thought, quit is a negative thought. The moment you put a thought out there, it doesn't matter whether you say do it or don't do it, that thought is like a seed that grows. So keep going and growing. When you keep going and growing, you literally execute focus over time, which is energy over time, which creates a vibration. Focus, energy over time, guided by faith. See, this is where faith comes in. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And so when you have focus, when you execute your energy over a time period, it is in the context of faith. Faith is what gives you direction to the energy and the focus that you execute over time. One of the beautiful things about this whole process is that once you keep growing and growing, that means that you are increasing your vibration that you send out to the universe. Once you're increasing that vibration, then the things that you seek will manifest in your life. You don't have to worry about the how. You just have to do the work. You know, it's a lot like having a baby, having a child. In other words, we can physically come together to do the physical things necessary to create a life, but the creator, the how, is what makes it happen. We don't understand not one iota about how to make a heart beat, how to make a blood vessel, but the universe, the nature of the creative spirit in which we operate is that if you do the work, you put in the time, you put in the energy, you put in the vibration, the how will take care of itself. So folks, these 8 steps to refocusing your life can take you from where you are to where you want to be. That the things that are going on around us have no impact on the choices that you make. That you have the ability to do what must be done. You have the ability to make that reality check, to understand what really is going on and who you really are. You have the ability to take responsibility, to create the attitude, the vibrations that will take you from where you are to where you want to be, no matter what. You have the ability to understand what you do and why you do it, and to be discriminating about it so that you don't do things that are that are not necessary, and you focus on the things that are necessary. You have the ability to say yes and to say no, to make those choices about the things that confront you, and to say yes or no in your response to them. You have the ability now to be still and know, and to revisit your why, to see what's really important right now. You have the ability to establish new priorities. You see, when you redefine your why and you establish these new priorities now, you create a new vibration that then attracts into your life that which you're seeking. You have the ability to take action. Action is proof positive of your desire. Action is the manifestation of your energy over time that gets the results. And finally, you keep going and growing, knowing that you have the ability to create the world exactly the way you want it to be. You have the ability to be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have whatever you want to have, regardless of what's going on around you, because you have the choice about your attitude, your feelings, your actions, and your associations. When you can do these things and refocus your life, friends, then you truly have the ability to create the life of your dreams, knowing always that the best is yet to come.